Hi, it's Alaska Granny. Today I wanted to talk about prepping on a budget. Lots of people don't have a lot of expendable income and they're not sure how they can actually get started, buy things that are usable, and be ready for an unknown future. A lot of suggestions are to get a big bucket of rice, beans, and a big old knife. That isn't necessarily helpful if you don't really know how to use those things or they're not things that you really need in your everyday life. What I think you need to do is start small, stockpile foods that you can just open and eat. In most emergency situations, it might be something like you have someone in your family that's sick and you can't go to the store, or you ran out of money before you ran out of month and you need something to eat. Perhaps your power went off or your water is out, a winter storm, you can't get to the store. So after you get foods that you can just tear open and eat, then search for foods in your store that you just add water. There are a lot of foods that you just add water that you can make nutritious meals for your family. Check it out, figure out what you could make for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Pay attention to the calorie count to make sure you're stockpiling enough calories so that the average person in your family will get 2,000 calories per day for an extended period of days. Then you also want to make sure that you're getting a lot of protein in the foods that you're storing. Don't just store foods with carbs, make sure there's protein too that are going to help keep you nourished and have the strength and energy that you need to deal with your everyday life. There's simple solutions for everyday emergencies so that they don't become catastrophic events. Start by stockpiling a few extra food items every time you go to the store. Buy something that's ready to eat. You can just tear it open and eat it. And then if you have some kind of a crisis, you can go to your cupboard, pull out that food, tear it open and eat it. That's not the time when you want to start figuring out how to cook a big old bucket of rice or beans. You may not have the time, you may not have the water, you may not have the electricity, and it's not even helpful. Then you have a great big bucket that's in your way, keeping you from doing the things that you need to get yourself going and figure out what to do next. If you have the basic food and water supplies that you need, you can nourish yourself and your family and then figure out what to do next in a crisis. A crisis is not the time to figure out how to prepare foods you don't know how, you're not familiar with. That's not even helpful. So buy some foods that you can tear open and eat that are readily available, that your family is willing to eat, and that has a long shelf life. They don't have to be expensive. You can just look through the grocery shelves. You don't have to go to the camping, hunting, or survival shelves to find foods that are shelf stable and ready to eat. What you do want to check is the expiration date and make sure that you're rotating these foods so that they're still fresh and ready to go when you need them. Foods can last past their expiration date, but the quality tends to deteriorate, and you don't want to find that all of your hard-earned money and your storage space is holding foods that are no longer fit to eat. So rotate them as you go. If you find you're not rotating those foods, you're probably stockpiled foods that you don't really want to eat. So it makes sense to figure out what it is that you will eat and that you're normally going to rotate it through your foods, and those are the foods that you need to buy more of. Start small, get a few things at a time. Stockpile your pantry until you have enough. Make sure you have a few days worth, get a few weeks worth of food, and even up to a few months. Then once you have stockpiled all those kind of foods, that's when you would want a big bucket of rice and beans. Because in a protracted emergency where the life that we know has really changed, having that long-term food and the time to spend figuring out what to do with it might be a great idea. Make sure you're also storing plenty of water. Water is something that we absolutely need to survive. It's simple. Pick up some water when you're at the store. Refill some containers in your kitchen. Buy a 5, 6, or 7 gallon jug and find somewhere in your home to store it. And if you have a lot of room, consider getting a water barrel that holds like 55 gallons. Prepping doesn't have to be expensive or complicated, but it's certainly something important that you need to do. If you don't prepare yourself to have the things that you need before things happen, then you're going to have to go out searching for the food, water, supplies that you need while things are happening. That's when you really could run into an emergency situation when your family is no longer safe and the security that you long for has eluded you simply because you failed to prepare. Take a few dollars a week and get the things that you need. Make sure that you have the things that you count on. Prepping is a lifestyle insurance that you're setting aside the things you never want to be without so that you have the things you need no matter what comes your way. It only makes sense to keep your family as safe and secure as possible. Learn more at alaskagranny.com. Please subscribe to the Alaska Granny channel.